Alright, what's up guys? We're gonna be... I thought I'd do just a little bit of like theory crafting thoughts, giving thoughts on some of the Pokemon that may not have been confirmed to be coming into the future DLC based off of, I don't know, maybe like their dex entries being wiped. So these aren't technically confirmed to be in, but based off of Sword and Shield, there's a good chance a lot of these do end up in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So spoiler alerts past these three that I've already showed you. Sorry, or four you can already see. Sorry, but yeah. So we're just gonna be talking through some of them. My thoughts on how we'll probably be seeing them play, if we'll be seeing them often, and everything. So starting off, we're gonna start off with Clefairy here. Clefairy's very good. It's gonna fill a fairly similar role as Mousehold. It's not gonna be exactly the same because Clefairy's more of a sitting back and providing defensive support for its teammate, whereas Mousehold has found a very strong niche in using like Super Fang to cut its opponent's health in half, running beat up Population Bomb in order to enable certain Pokemon's like special abilities and moves. So like pairs really well with Annihilate along with Rage Fist for that reason. And so that's where Mousehold's found a real hold. Clefairy, on the other hand, will be in a similar spot as a Follow Me Friend Guard user. Most of them will run Follow Me Protect. And then we'll probably see a fair amount of Heal Pulse ran on some of them, I would think. I've ran Heal Pulse on like my Gothitels recently, and with just how bulky the meta has become, with Wuchien and Tingaloo being introduced and such, Clefairy will find a really strong spot with Heal Pulse, because 50% heal is good no matter what, and if your opponent's not expecting it, or if you get, say, like a Trick Room up, it'll just be very strong, I would think. And then finally you'd run probably like Moonblast or something. In place of Heal Pulse also you could run Moonlight or Soft Boiled. Run one of those. You probably run the Soft Boiled instead of Moonlight. But I think Heal Pulse will be pretty strong. You could also run something annoying like an Ally Switch. But yeah, I think overall this is what you'll see. It'll be a little more tanky than a Mousehold, and in a strong, a definitely more full-on supportive role than a kind of like where Mousehold applies pressure and has an attacking build that it can threaten to be. So next, we're gonna get into some of the Gen 1 starters. Venusaur. First off, it's just a good chlorophyll user, so we'll definitely see it on some teams because of like wide lens sleep powder. Fast sleep has just always been good. We'll see focus sash with sleep powder. Honestly, that'll be played often as well. But one thing that I'm thinking will possibly come up is a Terrafire Weather Ball. Terrafire acts as a sort of defensive Terra type for Venusaur already. It makes it so that obviously it resists fire, and with it it'll also give it stab on its fire type Weather Ball in the sun, which will be very good. Partner that with like just a energy ball or a leaf storm and say like earth power or sludge bomb. Venusaur will be finding a pretty decent spot in the meta, but I don't think it'll be anything special that will show up too often, just due to like the prevalence of like Chi-Yu being able to do a ton of damage to it. Or the introduction to there being more Pokemon with Sweet Veil also in this that I'll get to later. Next, Charizard. Charizard will just be a damage dealer. I don't think we'll see too much of it just because, I don't know. To me, it doesn't seem like it'll be doing too much. Its speed is a bit underwhelming in today's meta. There's just so many Pokemon added in Scarlet Violet that are faster than this, that put a lot of pressure on it, and I don't know. We'll see. There could be some good teams that use like maybe like a Choice Scarf Solar Power, and just like run Terrafire Heat Wave or something, and that'll probably do a ton of damage no matter what. But it's not going to be as prevalent, I would say, as it was in Sword and Shield. So if it can find the right team, it'll definitely be strong. I just don't know if it'll be able to find the right team where it does damage. Blastoise is another one where I was like, this probably won't do too much on teams. But then I thought about the fact that I've seen numerous teams already running like triple follow me user with one like really strong setup Pokemon, and I have a feeling that that's probably what we'll see. We'll probably see like a White Herb Shell Smash Water Spout, Terra Water Spout Blastoise set, and it'll just be partnered with like Clefairy, Maushold, and such, and just deal so much damage. It'll just deal so much damage when you have when you Terra Water Spout with a Shell Smash. Plus with Torrent, if you get it low, it then just does more damage with say like Muddy Water. I believe it gets Muddy Water. Yeah, with like Muddy Water. Or Blizzard. Snow is actually really good now. With especially the introduction of this next Pokemon. So we'll just move on to that. Alolan Ninetales and regular Ninetales. I think regular Ninetales will find a really nice spot with all the photosynthesis users. I'm going to talk about both of them with just Alolan Ninetales up. Regular Ninetales with Drought is a really good alternative to Torkoal to set the sun. Because the problem with using photosynthesis with Torkoal's Drought is the fact that Torkoal needs needs Trick Room typically to function, and a lot of the Paradox Pokemon don't want photosynthesis Pokemon don't want Trick Room. So the only ones that you end up seeing ran with Torkoal is like Brute Bonnet, and otherwise you don't see any of the other ones because those are all ones that want speed boosting for the most part. So with Ninetales coming, that's a faster option that doesn't require Trick Room, so it's more splashable onto, say, a team with Iron Hands, Flutter Mane, and Roaring Moon, than a Torkoal is. Alolan Ninetales, on the other hand, is an immediate buff to Snow even farther. Snow already being buffed in this generation, giving defensive boosts to ice types, a defensive boost to ice types. In it, Alolan Ninetales benefits from this perfectly. It's got some decent stats already. 109 speed it's a little slow for what the meta currently is like. I'd say like it's like literally one below where I'd say you're golden. 110 is 110. The 100 teens are probably the best place to be. With 109, there's a fair amount that outspeed it, but overall it's still very fast. And on top of that, thanks to the snow buffs, it's now extremely bulky. It's now like pretty dang bulky. without any investment really at all. With 73 HP and 100 special defense, and then you get 1.5 times this your defense. So this is 95 here, but it's actually more like 137 defense, which great stats all around. That's more like a base 95 defense stat rather than base 75 with no investment at all. It's actually more like a base 110. So like your defense stat effectively is higher than your special defense stat now on a little Ninetales, and partner that with being a fast Aurora Veil setter, it's gonna be very good. Alternatively, see I have choice specs on here with Aurora Veil, which doesn't make much sense. Alternatively, it could just be a Blizzard clicker. You bring this Pokemon in with 81 special attack and a choice specs, and just click Blizzard while sitting next to like Chi-Yu or something, and you're just dealing tons of damage. Coupled with having freeze dry, I think Chi-Yu Little Ninetales is just a really good matchup, because even water types won't be able to resist anything. Resist both of you between Heat Wave and just Blizzard and freeze dry. So overall, I think it's going to be just a really great mon. I'm excited to see the snow with this. Rather than Obama. It's definitely gonna just, I think, bring snow up like that one step that it needs to be truly viable, and I think it'll be a lot like how we had Tyranitar Lycanroc in Series 1. It'll be very similar to that when it gets in, as like you just throw little Ninetales on there with one Slush Rush user and like Titan, and it just does work. Next, another weather setter. So we had sun and snow with Ninetales and Alola Ninetales, and now with Politoed we get rain. Politoed, while I don't know how strong rain is, we've seen rain win before with Palafin. I think this Politoed is going to be what really bridges the rain Perish song meta. Politoed has a history of running Perish song on it. You no longer get Scald, which is very disappointing. Scald's no longer going to be on this Pokemon, almost for certain. But you get you probably get Chilling Water, which is a decent move. You either run that or just Muddy Water, even like maybe Icy Wind on top of that and Protect. So you'd have like Icy Wind, Muddy Water, and Protect. You just run that, sit with a Citrus Berry on you, and I think this will be a real bridge to Perish Song teams and Rain teams, because a lot of Rain teams have been running Palafin, and we've actually seen plenty of Perish Trap teams also running Palafin, because it just does so much damage and has so much versatility, that I think we'll just see this kind of mesh the two together. I had a kind of team that I like put together here with Wu Chien on it. You actually can't see Wu Chien even when I scroll all the way down. There's Wu Chien. I just kind of put this team together with like Arcanine, Screamtail, Palafin, Politoed. Screamtail could be any other Perish Song user, so this could also be like just Flutter Mane. But with Rain Palafin, I don't know if you need that damage from a Flutter Mane. I think you can just kind of have Screamtail, Gothitelle, Politoed with Perish Songs, and with Palafin with kind of whatever set you want to. Of course, you'll have Protect, because you want to have Protect on every team, but Jet Punch, Wave Crash. It's just so much damage, coupled with the Drizzle, and then I threw Wu Chien on here because it's very tanky with Rain. That also helps it with one of its major weaknesses against Fire. Powering it up, and I think it'll just kind of, a lot of the Perish Traps teams that we see will just kind of include a little bit of rain on them at this point once we get Politoed. So I'm really looking forward to that and how that all shapes out. Next is Weezing and Galarian Weezing. These are really exciting. They're just really exciting Pokemon to get. Neutralizing Gas is just such an amazing ability, and in Scarlet Violet so far, what we have seen is the reign of Pokemon with amazing abilities like Godiango, Garganacl, the ruinous legendaries. They all just have such strong abilities to them that we've really seen them take over the meta and really control. And with Weezing, Neutralizing Gas will just be really good against all of those. I'm also very interested to see how it plays out with like Photosynthesis and Cork Drive, and how they interact with Booster Energy. If it will remove the effect, the boost from a Booster Energy, or if that boost stays there, but if they like come out at the same time, it doesn't allow Booster Energy to go off. I'm very interested to see how that plays out. It'll be very interesting, while also it making Slacking more viable. We've seen some people try to do Slacking with Grafai's Doodle to override Truant, but with Neutralizing Gas Weezing on that team also, you just get a little more, so it's not like you're only relying on Grafai to have Slacking doing something. You can also bring in Weezing, depending on the situation. Only downside being they're 2 poison types in a meta that I would say has a lot of ground types going around, or at least ground moves going around. We got like Dondozo running Earthquake, you have Garchomp runs Earthquake, Tinglu running Fisher, Stomping Tantrum, Earthquake. I've seen all of those. But with with Terra type as well, Weezing gets even more survivability, because if you can really read what they're going for against it, you can Terra into like Flying to dodge ground moves. You can Terra Dark to avoid like Pranks. This would be to avoid Prankster Taunt and also Psychic type moves, which would be very good, honestly. So I think Weezing will have a really fun spot, and there'll be a lot of people that are playing around with it. Kingdra is one of the classic Swiftswim sweepers. Hurricane's very good. In the past, you'd be able to run like Scald as a more like consistent damage output, but with the removal of Scald from most Pokemon, it'll have to run Hydro Pump. That's not too bad. Between Dracometer, Hurricane, Hydro Pump, you'll just be dishing out damage in the rain. And you can even Terra Flying to deal even more damage with the Hurricane, which I think will be one of the main Terras that we end up seeing, if not a defensive Terra, or like Terra Steel maybe, getting rid of those Fairy weaknesses. You get rid of the Fairy weakness and the Dragon weakness by going Terra Steel and running like Flash Cannon. So Kingdra overall I think will be decent on rain teams, but it does have some competition that I'll be fighting against with like Basculegion, Overquill, just Palafin on rain teams. This is just nutty, so on. Porygon 2 is a awesome Pokemon to be seen come back. It was just a phenomenal Trick Room Center in Gen 8 and prior, and seeing it come back is just exciting for the prospects of Trick Room. We've had a lot of rough time in Series 1-2 for Trick Room. There just hasn't been much that can really... There's been ways to get it up, but it just hasn't been... They're not the strongest ways. We've seen a lot of Farigiraf. We've seen a lot of Armarouge and Didi. Being able to get up Trick Room. I've seen some Mimikyu. Like, we have Trick Room setters, but the majority of them are not Trick Room users, surprisingly. The majority are not good Trick Room users, and they're also not actually the bulkiest of Pokemon. Often it's because you're using Indeedee next to it that you're able to get Trick Room up. But with a Pokemon like Porygon 2, it has plenty of bulk to it that, I don't know, I think it'd be safe just sitting next to something with Friend Guard, or honestly, it would just be safe in general. Plus, it gets the added bonus that Terra Blast gets its stab at first, and then you can Terra into a different Terra if you need to later. So we'll probably see that replacing Tri-Attack on a lot of these. This was just the standard set from prior. But I think Porygon 2 will be very interesting. It just offers a lot of... It offers a really tanky, really tanky Trick Room setter that we haven't had for a while. Next is Snorlax. Snorlax is personally one of my most anticipated Pokemon that I'm looking forward to use. Mainly because I got into Pokemon in Gen 8, where Snorlax wasn't honestly that crazy of a Pokemon due to Dynamax and such. And I ended up watching a lot of old VODs of like Gen 7 games where you'd see a lot of like Snorlax being able to get Belly Drum up because Fake Out was so prevalent back then, and it just didn't have that same, you didn't have that same guarantee with Snorlax in Gen 8 due to Dynamax ignoring flinches. And so I'm just excited to see Snorlax back in a meta where Fake Out is strong and good, and see how it's able to fare. Also, because a lot of the strong ghost types right now that are immune to Fake Out are special attackers, which is very good for Snorlax's high special attack. So I'm really looking forward to messing around with Snorlax, seeing how it is. Only downside is that Custat Berry is not in the game currently, if I remember correctly, and so that's one really fun gimmick down the drain so far, but it might might make a resurgence and pop back up when they do the DLC. So still got my hopes out. Mamoswine. Mamoswine's going to find itself in a really fun spot. It has the chance, we don't know what moves it's going to actually be getting, but it has the chance of getting Ice Spinner. If it gets Ice Spinner, it definitely runs it for the 100% accuracy. Mamoswine has been plagued by Icicle Crash being its best move for a while now. If it doesn't get Ice Spinner, that's actually fine, thanks to loaded dice. We've seen this on be ran on Baxcalibur, just loaded dice Icicle Spear, and it just do tons of damage. So I think we'll probably see that on Mamoswine as well if we don't see Mamoswine get Ice Spinner, which Baxcalibur doesn't get it, so there's a dang good chance that Mamoswine also doesn't get Ice Spinner, and we'll have to run Icicle Spear loaded dice. But Ice Ground is just great coverage. I don't think there's not a single type that doesn't get hit by both of these. Get hit by one of these, at least for neutral, if not super effective. For the ones that resist each one, they kind of trade off. So like ground is resisted by grass and flying. Icicle Spear. Ice hits both of those for super effective. Ice is weak against fire and steel. Ground is super effective against both of those, and then everything else is hit for neutral damage at least. Otherwise, so it's just a really good dual threat offensively. Doesn't give too much defensively. You do get a defense bonus in snow now if you want to, which gives Mamoswine a little more survivability. But I do think you'll probably be running like a defensive Terra type on this possibly in order to give it a little more survivability. Though it would be really nice if he gets Ice Spinner and doesn't have to rely on loaded dice or Icicle Crash as its ice damage dealer, so that it could run something like just a Focus Sash. But yeah, overall, Mamoswine, depending on what moves it gets, it can have it could be a very strong presence. With some of the new supportive mons that are also coming in. So yeah. Smeargle. Smeargle's a very interesting mon. It saw play back in Gen 7. I don't remember exactly which years of Gen 7. I wasn't playing then. But I do know that for a while the Moody Spore just hope for an evasion boost, hope for an protect, fake out, hope for evasion boost. Smeargles were pretty big at times and made things very annoying throughout many tournaments. And with some of the moves that have been introduced in this new gen, I think it can be even a little more annoying. One being Silk Trap, being able to actually slow down your opponent. Most Smeargles were running Spiky Shield prior, which getting a little damage was probably the best option at the time. But being able to slow down your opponent so that then on the next turn, even if you don't have a speed boost or anything, there's a chance that you just outspeed is a really big thing. So I think Smeargles will be opting towards Silk Trap. I think we'll also be seeing Salt Cure on Smeargle. You get an evasion boost, and you get to use Salt Cure, which is already kind of is insanely good on Garganacl. But if Salt Cure was distributed to other Pokemon more widespread, it would be an insanely annoying move. Just in general. And this chip damage that it does kind of makes up for not having the damage from Spiky Shield. So I think we'll be seeing Salt Cure a lot more on Smeargles, because if your Smeargle gets some sleeps, you can just launch gets a spore onto something, you launch a Salt Cure into that slot or the other slot, and it just starts chipping down on one of your opponent's Pokemons until they have to switch, and you get another spore out. I'm not really looking forward to Smeargle coming back. I think it will be highly abused. It also has the ability to have Revival Blessing on it, which again is just another insanely good move. It's gonna be a very interesting one. I think it has a lot of potential at being annoying yet again. It's gonna do practically the same thing it did in Gen 7, just it got a few extra moves that I think only help it. Next, Ludicolo. Ludicolo finds itself in a weird spot where it doesn't have too high attacks or attacking stats, special attack and attack. But it's a decent swift swimmer. It gets fake out. It gets a pretty wide move pool that could go towards either physical attacker or special attacker. So I think we'd see a fair amount of play, a decent chance for it. The problem is there's just such a large pool of swift swimmers that are better than Ludicolo that I don't think we'll see much of it. But I think some people could prove me wrong on that, and it can do an amazing job given the certain circumstances, especially because of its typing. And because it gets fake out, which fake out's just good. Like if Amon gets fake out, it can technically be played at any point. I would say you can throw any Mon with fake out onto a team and it be able to at least fulfill the role of a fake out user. Like I've played games with Tink on my team, just because it gets fake out. It's been a good Mon. So next is Milotic. Or Milotic, however you want to pronounce it. I think that the most used Milotic set that we're going to be seeing is just like a Coil Muddy Water Recover set with competitive. And really like nothing more. They might put Hypnosis on it. It's just Coil. We're in a really strong setup meta where there is survivability enough on especially Pokemon that are tanky like Milotic to set up with like a Coil, raise its defenses, raise its accuracy, which is massive when every water type move is inaccurate above 50 base power. Like they've really gutted the amount of water type moves there are that aren't inaccurate. Aqua Tail, inaccurate. It's not gonna get Flip Turn. I'm almost certain it's gonna get that removed. Hydro Pump, inaccurate. Scald is removed. Surf, it does get Surf, so you can hit your teammate accurately. Waterfall's accurate that it gets, so that's something. But then your next best move is just like Brine. Which Brine can be pretty good. There's a lot of 50% chunkers out there with like all the Ruination users and like Mousehold with Super Fang. I feel like you could run a Brine team actually, and be hidden. Just run Mousehold with Super Fang, hit him with Super Fang, and then immediately hit him with Brine, and just have a base 130 base power move. But I don't know. They've just really gutted water types. But you could run like Muddy Water, Icy Wind, or Muddy Water Hypnosis, Coil, Recover, or like Mirror Coat can be really good also. I think those are some of the moves that we'll be seeing on Milotic. It'll be interesting to see if it gets any kind of like special moves when it does come to the game. I am very interested to see how they are spreading new moves onto some of these Pokemon, but like it'll probably get Chilling Water, which isn't a bad choice honestly. With your lower defense on it, you wouldn't have to run Coil, and you could just run like Chilling Water, Recover, Ice Beam, Protect, or something like that. But I think we'll see a fair amount of Coil Hypnosis, Coil Muddy Water. Next is another great Trick Room setter. I'm just so excited for the return of the extra bulky Trick Room setter that can just, like, it doesn't even need to be next to a certain Pokemon to survive 2 hits. Like, Dusclops was a Pokemon where if you didn't have your, like, set Ghost type or set Dark type to really chunk its health in Gen 8, it could just sit there and set up Trick Room on turn 1, and it would live with like 25% health and just pain split the next turn. It's just such a good Pokemon. I'm really excited to have it back. Like, this was just the general build that we ran in Gen 8. I'm thinking the same build will probably be good again this time around. Maybe you'll run like a Disable on here instead of Will-O-Wisp. Really depends. I don't know what Terra type you'll run either. Probably like Goat or Dark. Just yet again to avoid prankster moves, like prankster taunt. But also it makes it so the two types that you are weak against, Dark and Ghost, be something that you resist. So you probably run Terra Dark on this. And then also with abilities, just because right now in VGC it's open team sheet at events, you'll definitely run pressure at events, as long as it's open team sheet, because Frisk does literally nothing at that point. But on ladder, Frisk will still be really good, and if they do take away open team sheets at in-person events, then it'll probably go back towards Frisk as the main ability. But you just run pressure because, you know, limiting PvP can come into play when you're something as bulky as Dusclops. Next is Empoleon. There was also the other two Gen 4 starters, Infernape and Torterra. Infernape and Torterra I don't think we'll see much play at all. They don't really have any niches that I'd say are special, especially with like Blaziken coming back for firefighting. In my opinion, Blaziken is just a better firefighting type with speed boost, but I don't think they're anything special in any right. Also, I just have Empoleon on here because I find it interesting as a Defiant user, and being one of the only water steel types that we have. This is just a physical type, a physical set going off of the Defiant, but you could also just run, you could also run special for like these two moves, and then just have Aqua Jet. So you'd have like max special attack, and you'd either run like mid speed, or you'd just have a negative nature in physical with Aqua Jet, and you run like Flash Cannon and Hydro Pump or Ice Beam. And then so like if they do try to lower your special attack with like a Snarl or something, all of a sudden you have a priority move that's boosted coming off of it. So I think it'll be a really interesting Pokemon, especially with Terra type being a thing. It gives it an interesting niche, and that can be said with the other ones. They can have niches that can be interesting as well. I just thought Empoleon was a cooler one to look at right here. So next is Porygon Z, another Pokemon that we saw a ton of in Gen 8, primarily due to how strong adaptability is and how strong the Dynamax normal attack was in lowering your opponent's speed. You hit them with a super strong attack that lowers their speed, and then you're faster than them again the next turn, and you hit them with another one, and it's just, it was a really impressive tactic in that then. And though you don't get that same thing, I think it'll still be a decently strong Pokemon. Adaptability is still really good. You still have base 135 special attack. We see a lot of Friend Guard Follow Me users nowadays, so it could definitely find a spot just like sitting next to a Mousehold. With your Terra, you could just Terra normal and you'll do a ton of damage. It'll be like it'll be like 2.35 times damage stab instead of 1.5 times. It's like 2.35 if you Terra and have adaptability, I believe is the math or something like that. So it's just a lot of damage. But you could also run something like Terra Ice in snow with Blizzard and do a ton of damage that way. Because you have 2 times stab on Ice now on a Blizzard of base 110. So I think that's also a really good option as well. It's a little bit of like a glass cannon in a way, but it still has a really decent niche with like a choice scarf just thrown on here, with like Electroweb, Blizzard, just Terra blasting things, raw Terra blasting things, or try attacking things. Yeah, I think it'll be pretty good. You just run Hyper Beam if you want, if you have the slots to really just go for it. Be a fun Pokemon. Excadrill will definitely be seen sometimes, I would think, considering we had Lycanroc being ran with T-Tar at times, and Excadrill T-Tar is just an upgraded version of that. I would say Excadrill has a little more survivability with its typing. Especially, they're a great pair, especially because in the past, we had to run high horsepower on Excadrill, just because you can't run Earthquake against your next to your T-Tar that's weak to Earthquake. But with Terras, you can now actually run Earthquake on here, and just like Terra flying your T-Tar and dodge it, or you dodge it or protect, and with Terras we found there's a lot more room to play around with Earthquake on Pokemon than there was before. In VGC we just kind of ignored Earthquake often, because the dealing damage to your own teammate was almost never good. It kind of would always snowball away from you. But with the number of, like, there's some great flying types in the meta right now. There's a lot of Pokemon that you can just put Flying Terra on and be good. So we're seeing people play around with stuff like that. Like, we see a lot of Garchomp, and we've seen Garchomp next to T-Tars, stuff like that. You can also run Terra Rock on your Excadrill to have 1-1 get the special defense boost from being a rock type in sand, and then 2 get stab rock slide, which is just overall really good. So I think Excadrill will find a very nice niche as the new best Sand Rush user for the most part, over Lycanroc. Next is Conkeldurr. When I first saw Conkeldurr, I was like, I don't know if he'll be too good. But then I really thought about it, and a lot of the top Mons either are good against Conkeldurr, or Conkeldurr just like rolls over. Because we have a lot of good dark types in the meta right now that, with just like Drain Punch Guts, Conkeldurr one-shots. Or with Mach Punch, he one-shots. So Pokemon such as, I'm going to go through Series 2, but just keep in mind, all 4 of the Ruination Pokemon get bodied by Conkeldurr. Chien Pao and Chi-Yu both died of Mach Punch. Wu Chien and Ting Lu died to close combat like 80% of the time, and just get fully chunked by a Drain Punch and healed Conkeldurr like 50%. And that's with like no Swords Dance or anything. If you run Swords Dance on Conkeldurr, you get Swords Dance, don't you? Oh, you don't. I thought this got Swords Dance. I must have been wrong. I could have sworn Conkeldurr got Swords Dance. Oh, you get Bulk Up. So if you like use Bulk Up on this guy, he can really snowball a game, I bet. You could also run like Assault Vest Iron Fist or Assault Vest Sheer Force. I'd say Iron Fist because that still buffs up Drain Punch, and you get boosted special defense. You're gonna a number of things, but it's good against all the ruins. It's good against Iron Bundle. It's good against Brute Bonnet. And then on the other hand, it's weak against Fluttermane. It's bad against Fluttermane, Goldengo, Amoonguss. It's pretty even against Arcanine. It's weak against Dragonite, but it's good against Roaring Moon, Kingambit, Maushold, Bonnet, as I said. It has knockoff for Armarouge and DD, so that's interesting. It has, amongst most of the Pokemon at the top, there's just a handful that it's really good against, like Iron Bundle and Roaring Moon, Kingambit, Maushold, Brute Bonnet, T-Tar, Garganacl, though Garganacls are running Terra Ghost recently, so not as much. But, like, there's just a fair enough at the top where I'd say it, and then all the ruin Pokemon. There's enough at the top where I'd say it is very good. Or here, let's go over to Pucko, and we can look at Regulation C. So, Fluttermane it's bad against. Fluttermane beats it because it's Ghost type and Fairy type. So it's hitting you for your weakness, and you can't hit it with your strength. But Qianpao gets murdered. Ting-Lu, its defense and health is so high that you can't really one-shot it. Like, you can one-shot it, I think, with close combat, but it's still a roll, even with max attack guts. But with just like Drain Punch, you just easily beat this as long as it doesn't hit you with a fissure. Chi-Yu, bodied. Iron Hands, very even. Arcanine, even. Amoonguss, you don't do well against. Iron Bundle, you body. Wuchien, you body. There's just... It ends up bodying like half of the top 10, while then also losing to 3 of the other 5 in the top 10. So I think it'll be a very good Pokemon, actually. And with knockoff, it doesn't do as bad against, like, Fluttermane, Annihilate, Goldengo, as it would if it didn't get a Dark-type move. Like, with knockoff, it probably does pretty dang good against Goldengo, and probably chunks it for, like, 65-70% on the first hit, and then can probably 2-hit KO with the second one, even with the drop after getting rid of the item. So it'll be a very interesting Pokemon. Next, Whimsicott. I mean, this is obviously going to fly up the usage boards as soon as it comes out. Price of Tailwind. In that mind, I don't have them listed on here, but there's Volbeat, right? Volbeat? Ay, caramba. I gotta go in here. Yeah, Volbeat is another Prankster Tailwind user that's going to be getting added, along with Illumise. It's going to have Prankster Tailwinds. So those are going to be all... Those are going to be possibilities, but Whimsicott's just going to be better. Because 1, it's faster. 2, it's got a better typing in Grass Fairy. 3, it gets beat up, so it can also be like an enabler of Annihilate, which you've seen has been really good to have an enabler for Annihilate. Gets Prankster Taunt, gets Moonblast. Just be a really good Pokemon. What more can I say? Prankster Tailwind. I mean, that thing, Prankster Tailwind carried Murkrow to the top, and this is just faster. It's just faster. And beats Murkrow in a 1-to-1 with Moonblast. So yeah. Next is Scrafty, who I think Scrafty benefits from Terra a ton. This is kind of just like the general set that I have laid out for it. Fake Out, Close Combat, Knock Off, Poison Jab. You get your 2 stabs, and then you get Poison Jab to deal with your biggest threats in Fairy types. Because you have a quad weakness Fairy, you'll see a lot of Fairies trying to go up against Scrafty. So then Poison Jab just really good in order to deal with those. And then you benefit a ton with Terra Poison on top of that, because Terra Poison takes all of your weaknesses and resists them. Because as a dark fighting, you're only weak to, you're quad weak to fairy and weak to fighting. Those are the only things that you're weak to. You are neutral or resist everything else. So with Terra Poison, you gain a resistance to both fairy. You become resistant to both fairy and fighting, your only weaknesses, along with being able to boost up your get stab on your coverage move. That's good against your weaknesses. So it just kind of, this set just kind of all comes together in its own right. You can also run like Drain Punch on here. You could run Head Smash. Ice Punch could be good if there's a lot of like 4 times weak to ice Pokemon, like say like Dragonite and such. You can run Rock Slide as well. Throat Chop's also really good, especially with the rise of Perish Trap right now. I've found Throat Chop has been very handy in some cases, because you can really read some Perish song choices that people might go for and just shut them down. But yeah, so I think Scrafty will be very good, or not very good. I think it has it has everything that it could have going for it is going for it. To give it its best chance, probably yet. This is probably its best chance in the meta, I would say, because Terrestrialization just makes it so like the dark fighting is not as much of a hindrance against fairy types as you would think. Next is Reuniclus. There's not much on here because I don't really know how you'd want to set up its thing, but you just kind of have Trick Room on this. If it gets Expanding Force, you keep Expanding Force on this thing for sure, and you just run it next to a Indeedee. If it doesn't get Expanding Force, you just run Psychic, and it still does damage. You probably run Magic Guard with like Garganackle still out there, being a big thing in Trick Room, because it'll make you immune to Salt Cure over time. Otherwise, I would say run Overcoat so that you can dodge spores from Amoonguss, because Amoonguss will definitely stay prevalent longer than Garganackle does in most metas, I would say. But yeah, you just run like Expanding Force. You can run maybe like Calm Mind or something. But yeah, you don't really need anything. You could run just Terra Psychic to deal extra damage, especially if you get Expanding Force. Otherwise, you might want to run a defensive Terra, but I think this will be a pretty dang good Mon. When it gets in, it'll just do tons of damage, which is huge. Chandelier, very similar. You could toss Trick Room onto it. You could not toss Trick Room onto it. You get Heat Wave, Shadow Ball, just deal tons of damage. This is also a good Mon when it comes to the fact that Perish Trap teams exist. Being a Ghost type, you get out of Shadow Tag. So it'll be good with that being in the meta. Otherwise, I mean, sadly, it does kind of like the same thing as Chi-Yu in having just Heat Wave and a ton of special attack. So it's not the most amazing, I'd say, thing to pair next to a Chi-Yu, just because they kind of hit with the same stuff. But it's also not bad. It's still going to be very, very dominant. If it had its old secret ability of Shadow Tag, that would be insane, though. And I kind of wish we had that. There's just some small things that I really like. Maybe I'll do some of my like theory crafting stuff at some point. And then lastly in this box is Mandibuzz. Just a bulky Tailwind setter. Doesn't like to die, doesn't like to go down, just soaks up damage. You can run Foul Play or Knockoff, Taunt, or whatever. You can kind of play around with those, but almost all mana buzzes will be running Tailwind Roost and Overcoat, making you immune to like Spore, Sleep Powder, always good, and chip damage from Sandstorm. Overcoat, always a great ability. On top of that, Roost, Tailwind, amazing defenses. 110 HP, 105 defense, 95 special defense. So much. You tend to run foul play just because like your attacking stats aren't much, but you can definitely run like knockoff if you're trying to get rid of items from the other team. You can run U-turn, have it be slow to be an end of turn cycle to go to a mon that you wanted to get in on the Tailwind. So you'd like set up Tailwind turn 1, and then you'd U-turn to turn 2 to bring in another mon. Overall exciting mon. I love the flavor on Mandibuzz. I think it's a really cool and interesting vulture. I look forward to it, especially in a non-Dynamax format. It just kind of got bodied in Dynamax, so. Okay. Next up is Meowstic. There's 2 forms of Meowstic, but I don't think you'll see much of the female Meowstic. Just because it gets competitive instead of prankster. And competitive, while being a good ability, is not so good on a not super tanky Pokemon. Which is what Meowstic is. Both forms have these same stats, so 74, 76, 81, which, while not being absolute garbage, are not particularly amazing either. This is very middling stats, where like, yeah, you live the things that shouldn't kill you, but you will die to anything super powerful out there. You really want something like competitive on a Pokemon that is like a little threatening in its attack stats, but definitely has more bulk than anything, like a Milotic. What I think will be fun on this one, it's a Fake Out user. Fake Out, always good. I'm never not going to mention Fake Out as being a good move. As of right now, it's really good. But it is a Prankster skill swap user, which doesn't seem that crazy until I tell you that I'm pretty sure you can switch this with Toedscruel, which means you can have Prankster Spore on Toedscruel, or Prankster Spore on anything, but it's especially good on Toedscruel, because then you just swap this out the turn after, and you get rid of Mycelium Mite on the board in general, and have a Prankster Spore user next to you. So yeah, I think that can be very fun. Yeah, it can just be very fun. I think there's a lot of there's some chances that you can use this and just make one of your Pokemon have a really fun time spamming some of their status moves. Problem being though that Goldengo just kind of goes and puts up a middle finger to your status moves. Another very interesting move that Meowstic gets is Gravity. We've seen people playing around with Gravity. I've seen people running Sandy Shocks with Gravity. Max speed Sandy Shocks. Just to set up Gravity as soon as possible. Gravity's very interesting. Just because it boosts the accuracy of everything. And with like... So this will make it like Population Bomb always hits. Hypnosis hits most of the time on, say, like Milotic. It makes it so nothing is resistant to Fissure. It doesn't boost the accuracy of Fissure, I don't think, but it makes it so nothing's resistant of it, which we're seeing Fissure ran on Tinglu right now, and we've seen it ran on Dondozo in the past. And the general gist of how people have turned to counter that, at least in the mirror matchup for the Dondozo, and I've seen people discuss making their Tinglus Terra Flying as well, is to become a flying type. So with gravity, you'd make it so that they're no longer resistant to that. It'd also just be really good for the amount of like earthquake spammers that we can have right now. It's really fun. It'll just be a really fun move. I'll definitely try it out, see what kind of wacky, funky things I can do with it. But yeah, otherwise it gets like some good prankster moves like fake tears. Whimsicott got this also, like fake tears, misty terrain, which we have seen on some like Grimmsnarls and stuff at times, to block status effects and also limit dragon type damage. So yeah. Also Imprison is good. At locking things out of certain moves, if there is like an overlap with a Pokemon that you want to lock out of moves. It can be fun. Next, Trevenant. Trevenant's nothing special. It's going to be a Harvest Berry user. So you can have like Citrus Berry here, and you just have Harvest. It's mostly like a Trick Room setter, but then you'd run something like Poltergeist and like Horn Leech or Woodhammer with Will-O-Wisp is kind of like the setup. It'll be decent. It won't be anything too special. The problem is that it will get absolutely chunked by Gothengo and Fluttermane and Chi-Yu and Qianpao. So it doesn't have too much going for it. But it will be good against like Wu Qian and Ting Lu, I believe. Because both of those, for the most part, are running Ruination as their dark type move right now. Yeah, you get some Snarl, but we get mostly Ruination. And some Foul Play on Wu Qian. And on Ting Lu's up here. We love Ting Lu. We're getting Ruination and then Throat Chop. So we do see more attacking move, dark move on Ting Lu. But for the most part, they're not going to be having anything to actually hit Trevenant super effectively, because with the grass, you just resist both grass and ground, which are their main attacking moves for both. So it does do a decent job against those ones. It's just the attacking Ruin Pokemon, and then like Fluttermane, Gothengo, even Iron Bundle all have pretty good matchups against it. We don't need a real introduction for the GOAT of everything. It's still gonna get Parting Shot. It's gonna get Fake Out. You get Flare Blitz. You get what new move could it possibly get? Like, of all of these moves, is there it's gonna somehow get like Ice Spinner, and it's gonna be so stupid. It's like, why do you get Ice Spinner? Why? But it's gonna get it. It's gonna enjoy it. That's the type of Pokemon Incineroar is. They're just gonna be like, screw it, give it Revival Blessing, make it even better. And we're gonna be like, yeah, Slay King. Because what can we do? No, I don't think it'll get any of these, actually. These are all like individual Pokemon things, but it does not matter. It's Incineroar. It gets Snarl down here. You just run like Snarl, Flare Blitz, Parting Shot, Fake Out. It's so good. You get like Figgy Berry. It's just such a good Pokemon. Fire Dark, such a good typing. Defensively, your defensive stats are amazing. You have a slow speed with Parting Shot, so you just kind of like tank Parting Shot out of there, or U-turn out of there, either or, because at this point you can run U-turn, Flare Blitz, Snarl, Fake Out, and throw on an Assault Vest instead, not have a berry. It's just so strong. You can throw knockoff on a build. Throat chop. Taunt has been ran on this guy plenty of times. He's so good. He's so good. He's so good. It has a positive matchup against 3 of the 4 Ruin Pokemon. The only one that it doesn't have a positive matchup against is Tinglu. Shout out Tinglu. Then again, you outspeed it, so you just parting shot it. Intimidate, and then parting shot. It's at -2 all of a sudden. It's so good. Water types got nerfed. Water types got nerfed. They don't get Scald anymore. So there's chances that they fucking miss. The only positives are that we see more room for like Earthquake users out there. Like our Garchomps will be running Earthquake and Rock Slide and will be dealing a ton of damage. Then the problem comes though, sadly, that Incineroar can Terra type also. Oh my god, we love it. We love it when a Pokemon with great defensive typing can defensively type for your counters to its great defensive typing. So Water got nerfed and most of its moves are inaccurate. Otherwise, it is weak to Ground, Rock, and Fighting. And that is all that Incineroar is weak to. Rock, also very inaccurate. Ground moves, if they are single target, they're low base power, or they are multi-hits. Like Earthquake. It's literally Earthquake, or it is a mainly low base power. We did get the introduction of Headlong Rush, which will be very good against this. I think with Incineroar, we'll see Great Tusk. We'll see Great Tusk. And we'll also see Great Tusk. So here's the thing. If Incineroar doubles pivot, Great Tusk, Headlong Rush, but we have to be intimidated. So I think we will see Great Tusk, but it'll have Clear Amulet. I think we'll see Clear Amulet Great Tusk, even though we've been running Focus Sash to get around its low special defense. I think we'll see maybe some of that, or we'll see something on to get around the fact that you can't kill with an intimidate drop. Like if you go Choice Band, then you can kill again. Life Orb makes it a roll. It's a 50% chance. So Expert Belt makes it a 6% chance to OKO. I don't know. It's going to be tough because the special attacking ground types, like, let's see. Ground type, and then we go special attack at Sandy Shocks. That's where Sandy Shock will find its biggest niche. Is against Incineroar. Because it can absolutely just blow up Incineroar. Otherwise, Gastrodon might make an appearance because Gastrodon is a consistent counter to Incineroar. That's partially why we saw so much Gastrodon in Sword and Shield. It's because it is a consistent winner. Or not, it's not even a consistent... It has consistent damage output against Incineroar. The problem being, though, Parting Shot exists. But Sandy Shocks will 100% OKO Incineroar. I am almost certain of that. Let's see it. Sandy Shocks. We don't even want choice specs. I'm just going to take it off and put like this on. Never mind. Never mind. It doesn't do nearly enough. What? Really? What? You only get a 40% chance to OKO with Earth Power on Sandy Shocks. It's disgusting. I hate you, Incineroar. You're just gross and rude and mean and annoying. And why won't you die? Yeah, I'm not looking forward to Incineroar coming back to the meta. It will still fit, and it will still rule it. Though we do have a lot of really good special attackers. The problem being, though, Goldengo, not good against it. Fluttermane, not good against it. Iron Bundle, if you can hit your Hydro Pump, you're good against it. Great Tusk, you take 2 hits to kill it, but you can do it. Iron Hands, you could probably also do it, but you, again, are getting hit by Intimidate Cycle this entire time. Dondozo probably has a decent chance. The problem being, though, you lose half of you lose your, if you can't kill it in one hit with Dondozo, which I doubt you can kill it in one hit. Let's check. So you're probably also getting intimidated. You get the +2 from the commander boost. And you're almost there. You're almost there. If you're at full +2. The problem is you're down to a +1 after one thing. You hit them like this. No, that hurt. And then they parting shot you. And then you're down to neutral. And then it comes back out and you're down to -1. And even if you Earthquake again, it lives this Earthquake. No matter what? Wait, 63? Yeah, it lives this Earthquake no matter what. If you high roll on both the first Earthquake, where you're at +1, and then when you're at +1, it comes in again, gets hit again, gets knocked down to 10%, eats its Figgy Berry if it's running Figgy Berry, and just boom, it's up back to 45%. 45%, you're at -1. You get faked out. You then get faked out the next turn, damage dealt to you, and then you get party shot another time. It's just like, what can I do? What can I do? I don't know. It's gonna be disgusting. I hate it. It really is. Like, it's just your best option is to just prey on a Hydro Pump to kill it. Which brings us to our next Pokemon, Primarina, the one water type that gets a accurate high base power water type move with Sparkling Aria. This will be the best counter to Incineroar. Thank you. It will be. If we go to Primarina, choice specs. We don't have Scald anymore. We get Sparkling Aria. With choice specs, you can actually kill. You can OKO. It's beautiful. Primarina will be the best counter. Liquid Voice doesn't do too much with Primarina. I mean, you can run it as a water type Sylveon Hyper Voice. You can run, so that's a spread water move. It's kind of like Surf, but it doesn't hit your teammate. You can remove Sparkling Aria then and put like Terra Blast. It will be a 80 base power water type move. So it's like Scald. Until you Terra. You can like run like Terra Steel to get around like the grass type weakness and the poison type weakness. And get rid of your electric type weakness, though you don't make it a resistance. You can do like Terra Steel, you can do Terra Grounds, though Terra Ground's not as great, Terra Grass, Terra Fire, so on and so forth. And then the Terra Blast would change and you'd still have a water type move with Hyper Voice. But yeah, Primarina will be the best answer to Incineroar because it is the water type with the most consistent high damage water type move. Next is Vikavolt. Vikavolt is a good Trick Room Pokemon. You get Levitate, which is very nice, especially in a meta where we want to be spamming Earthquakes. We love spamming Earthquakes. That's all I'm saying. We love spamming Earthquakes. No, like ground type Pokemon are really good right now, and Vikavolt is very good against a fair amount of them. It is good against Great Tusk. It is good against. It's not the best against Garchomp, but with Terra, it can become the best against Garchomp. You just go to like Terra Grass, or yeah, honestly, you could just do Terra Grass, or Terra Steel. Terra Steel is actually pretty good. You lose your weakness to rock. You have levitate, so you're not weak to ground. You still have your weakness to fire, from being a bug, but that's fine. You pick up a whole bunch of resistances here without gaining any specific, like without gaining much weaknesses other than a fighting type weakness. You get a fighting type weakness, but you already have immunity to ground, and you already had a weakness to fire. It's just really good, and you have a move that will get stabbed from it that you can use beforehand, so you don't even have to run Terra Blast. So it's a really good move, and then you can just run like Choice Specs or Assault Vest, and base 43 is pretty good because you just out underspeed the base 45 users, and there's a lot at base 45. Like, let's see. Base 45 is where you find, like, this is where you get Frabska and Wigglytuff and Marowak. That's a big one. Lurantis, Granbull, Golem, Executor, Dusknoir, Conkeldurr, Bellibolt, Mega Ampharos, Ting-Lu. Yeah, you're just underspeeding all these, and then you also underspeed Dragalge, which I love Dragalge, but yeah, underspeeding these is really good. 45 is a pretty standard Trick Room mon spot, so if you're at 43, you're just under them, and it's pretty nice. Noted is that you're at the same point as Credilly and Crabominable. Credilly being probably the most threatening with rock type, but like, who's bringing Credilly today's day and age? Another thing is to note is you are bad against Garganacl, and with Terra Steel you're still bad against it, so you probably wouldn't want to be Terra Steel. You'd probably want to be like Terra Grass, just to have a better matchup there. Next is Rabombi. Rabombi, I did not know got Tailwind. If you want to run Tailwind, you could. I kind of have Tailwind and Quiver Dance here. I think if you're building a Rabombi, you're running one or the other, and then you protect. So it's either Quiver Dance protect or Tailwind protect. Shield Dust would make it so that you don't take damage from, like, one, you don't get dropped by Snarls, which is pretty good, and then two, another thought is, it's just always on my mind when it comes to secondary effects, is Salt Cure from Garganacl. The problem being, though, that you're a bug type and you're just going to take damage from the Salt Cure actual damage anyways. I didn't run the calc, but it's got to be at least 30%, especially because defense is not too high and HP is not too high. So I think you run Sweet Veil and just protect your teammate from being able to fall asleep. The one downside of this ability, though, is that if they're already asleep, they do not wake up, which sucks, but allowing you to kind of just like sit out in front of, say, like Amoonguss or this will be a meta where you can have like a Toedscool sitting next to a Weezing and get rid of Mycelium Mite, so you have a base 100 speed Spore user. Sweet Veil becomes a pretty big thing, and it's kind of the same thing without Creamy here. You want Sweet Veil pretty big, or you want Aroma Veil to put so that you're sitting next to like your Trick Room setter, and you don't have to worry about Taunt messing up your Trick Room setter. So like how we were talking about how Dusclops might run Terra Dark to get around Prankster Taunt. You could just put Alcremie right next to it with Aroma Veil, and you wouldn't have to worry about that. Or you wouldn't have to run Mental Herb on your Trick Room setter like I have done plenty of times. But, so yeah. I said enough about Ribombee. Comfey will be all gimmick. This is a gimmick Pokemon that will flourish in a gimmick stage. I mean, with Triage, that's a +3 priority, so that's on the same level as Fake Out. My first thought was weakness policy procking, both Palafin and Dragonite. Because both with Giga Drain and Draining Kiss, you don't even have to Terra to weakness policy proc both of them. And they can then still use their +2 priority E-Speed and Jet Punch on that same turn. Like, it goes before those moves, which is insane. And then any damage that it takes that turn, like your Palafin takes that turn, you then just use Flora Healing the next turn. It's ridiculous, in my opinion. There's going to be plenty of gimmicks around this Pokemon. It also gets both Tailwind and Trick Room. And healing your Pokemon, I've felt in the current meta, at least in Regulation C, where we have like Wu Chien and Ting Lu legal, and things can be very, very